Hello everybody and welcome to our webinar. In following 20 minutes I'll be talking about Quectel GSM modules and tips and tricks that are good to know for machine-to-machine applications. Please feel free to use the chat window for your questions, which I tend to address at the end of this presentation. My name is Tatjana Nikolic and I'm an application engineer with Atlantik Elektronik, supporting Quectel products in my company. I collected during the time most often asked questions I was answering for our customers, and I made kind of a summary of issues you might face while developing your application, using Quectel GSM modules, but also generally as I see it. Here is the agenda. You should see the agenda now. I have only few points I consider to be the most important. As said, those are issues customers were facing either while developing or considering the migration, stop using one module and start using Quectel GSM modules instead. This should also serve you as a guide to estimate the time and effort needed for your endeavor in both cases. I'll tell you first about the standard test setup. I'll also tell about the AT command set supported by Quectel modules, as this is one of the first popping up issues when considering use of GSM modules. Other points are related to GPRS and TCPIP protocol and what should you take care of if making plans to use TCPIP socket connection in particular. This, what you see now, would be the standard setup. You need an evaluation kit, one adapter board with a module soldered on it, which is orderable. Evaluation kit is delivered with all needed cabling, power supply and drivers you need for different operating systems. There are also a few very useful software tools provided. This is how I work. I plug in and power up my evaluation board and connect it using main plugin on the board to my PC. On the PC I start the QCOM tool. This is a simple executable file running on my PC and running on many different operating systems. Basically, you can use any other hyperterminal program, or if you have Windows 7, then a tool like Putty or something. This QCOM tool, however, is giving you more flexibility to send more characters together, not only one by one, and to save your test scripts. This function is storing those AT commands you used and you can load them as a file, readable for the system for any specific test application. On the right hand side is then an overview given, and on the left hand side you see commands, execution and response. Quectel prepared more of such small programs, executable files, you might find useful for testing. I find very handy the QServer tool, acting as a server for testing the client side of your TCPIP connection made with GSM modules, so the tool is configured as a TCP server where your module can connect as a client. While estimating complexity of the implementation Quectel modules, important is to know what do I need to implement, what is the AT command set I have at disposal, or what changes I need to do, what do I need to adapt in it in order to implement it in my application. Good news when using Quectel module is you need to change almost nothing in your software. It is because it is all much standardized. Quectel is following all actual ATSI standards for AT commands used in GSM world. They are all present and implemented in Quectel GSM Modules standard firmware. So, the GTS GSM 0707 as well as GTS GSM 0705 are standards followed. On the top of this, you'll have the specific Quectel commands at disposal, allowing you more flexibility while developing your application when using those specific tailored commands. Here you see, on your right-hand side, the QCOM tool again, with some commands and responses. I picked up few examples for you to present you. First command is the classic one, CGMM for requesting model identification, or the other common is CMGF for selecting the SMS message format. Also, the specially important commands for requesting the info related to the network registration status are available. The screenshot shows commands issued and responses. What is not visible in this view is that option to store and import files with commands related to the test or simply commands you use regularly. Also, commands enumerated under the V25 standard for automatic calling and answering equipment on dial-up lines by ITUT are supported. This command set is actually included in GSM 0707 standard. For instance, ATA answering incoming call, or ATI to get the product identification information displayed. As a developer, you are not left alone with those modules and standards. Quectel delivered comprehensive documentation explaining those AT commands in detail. Also, best practices and guides for testing, all at your convenience. So, talking about the complexity of the implementation and support, all is well documented. Besides commands described, Quectel offers different user manuals, application notes, as well as hardware describing documents and schematics. Specific documents are written for some specific more complex applications, like for instance, subset of commands supporting FTP, SMTP, or SIM application toolkit. Also, for some sophisticated procedures like setting up the TCP connection, there is the recommended process description and much more. One of concerns, or so to say, requests we got from our customers is if Quectel modules could detect if the antenna is present, and yes, with the circuit consisting of few elements and with the help of implemented AT command supporting this feature, you have the possibility to detect if the antenna is mounted and connected. There are, generally speaking, two types of antennas that could be detected: those with high TDC impedance around 10 kilo ohms and antenna with DC impedance around 0. You see here the circuit, and a detailed explanation is provided in related document on how to make this setup. The command response gives the status telling about the voltage value and if the value was possible to attain. The related voltage value is then expected to be within the certain range, as mentioned, all provided in documentation. The other issue raised by our customers comes out of the need to have the module position detected following mobile cell registration for round positioning information in cases where no GPS signal used. This is then for applications where is no accurate information needed. The accuracy of positioning data acquired this way depends, as you might guess, on the size of the cell. With dense arranged cells, the results you get this way are more precise. The AT command is implemented in firmware, but before issuing it, you need to do some preparation. You need the GPRS connection and need to register for the TCPIP stack. APN stands for Access Point Name or Network. I performed a test to show what could be achieved using this command. Our office in the west part of Munich, in Planegg. The correct longitude and latitude are stated below on the slide in your right corner. Just above you see the command response issued by me sitting on the given location, on that address. In this case, as you can see, we have just a few kilometer difference, which is realistic for mobile cells in this part of Munich. For your TCPIP over GPRS applications, you'll need the server and a client. Servers have to be able to provide public IP addresses in order to be addressable on the Internet, while the client makes TCP connection also when provided with a private IP address. Few words on this private versus public IP addresses. Any instance in network, in Internet, has to have a unique address in order to be reachable. There are, however, many other instances on the same Internet connected via some